Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Maqbool, with you at PTB World. In today's show, we will be taking a look at the developments going on in the country on the political side, especially in line with the upcoming elections on the 8th of February. We know, of course, that nomination paper submission is continuing and the deadline has been extended till December 24th, which is Sunday at the end of the week this week. And so it's going to be important to see what sort of developments come up with different political parties putting up the names of their candidates. At the same time, we also know that in another development, the ECP in its reserved verdict has now given its verdict on the symbol of bat and has not allowed the PTI to proceed with using the symbol, citing the fact that the intra-party polls were unconstitutional as per the PTI's own constitution and the Elections Act. And so we're going to be taking a look at what that means, especially when we know that the former chairman's nomination papers had also been received by the ECP, and we also know that both him and the leader of the party, the vice chairman, was also given bail in the Cypher case earlier today. So it's going to be important to see how exactly the PTI is now going to be seeing these developments and what it means generally in terms of the level playing field that is often being cited by parties such as the PTI and the PPP and others as well with regards to the credibility of these elections. Now the focus, of course, being on the fairness of the elections much more so than the timing. And it seems that with the deadline expiring soon of the submission of nomination papers, the PTI hardly has any time to decide on what sort of future strategy they're going to be deploying in line with retaining the symbol. Of course, at the same time, important questions such as what really is happening and the criticism that is coming in from various quarters, and also the use of social media will be important in terms of whether or not such measures will be able to impact the PTI as much as they would have in a time perhaps where the social media did not exist. So we're going to be taking a look at all of this and trying to understand what is going on with different political parties, and then also in light of what other political parties such as the PPP and the PMLN seem to be progressing, with news coming in from the PMLN also of internal party rifts, particularly of those who are perhaps having preferences over aligning more with the followers of Mr. Shehbaz Sharif or Maryam Nawaz, a distinction that is being drawn internally, and whether or not any such exists, of course, something that we will be seeing in the upcoming elections. So we're going to be taking a look at all of this in our show today, and for this and more, as always in the studios, I've been joined by senior analysts Farrukh, Pitafi and Faisal. We've also been joined online by Mr. Rashid Chaudry, who's National Coordinator of FAFEN, and we've been joined by Mr. Abid Abbasi on telephone line as a political analyst. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of the discussion. We'll also be joined later on in the show by Hafiz, Ahsan, Ahmad, Khokhar, who's going to be part of the discussion as well. I'll start with you, Abid Saab. Given the fact that when we take a look at the current scenario and the way that different political parties have been reacting, of course, the PTI has been one of the parties that have strongly termed whatever is going on at the moment as a lack of level playing field, and have accused both the caretaker setup and the ECP of moving forward with an attack on the party. And so any decision that goes against them is something that is being cited in the same narrative. When we take a look at what has happened in terms of the ECP and the bat symbol, citing, of course, unconstitutional intra-party polls, what reference can you draw of any such precedent that has existed? Because it seems that the ECP has never done this on the basis of any intra-party polls before. And so why has this happened now, or what sort of legal ground exists for that? And whether or not this falls into place with the entire rhetoric of the PTI accusing the ECP of not allowing them a level playing field, which the ECB just hours before the verdict was announced has once again reiterated that they will be doing so. Abid Saab, can you hear me?
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Sana,
Go ahead.
for your invitation on the show. Yes, there is no such precedent in Pakistan that election commission has given some verdict against a political party or scene. And because I was listening from some official of the retired official of election commission that no one has taken that complaint to election commission before, because it was, a case submitted by a founder member of PTI, Akbar S. Babar, who fought a very long case against this, previously in terms of illegal funding of PTI in the foreign funding case, and then he also submitted this case. He also pleaded this case in Election Commission of Pakistan. So there is no comparison of the elections of other political parties with this, because the other political parties or the members of those political parties or any opponent has not taken that case into Election Commission of Pakistan. Having said that, I would say that there are so many decisions by the courts, superior judiciary, in favor of PTI, and there are so many cases where they couldn't prove themselves, but unfortunately, when some cases are in the favor of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, social media campaign is launched in favor of those judges, or similarly, when some case is not in their favor, then they malign judiciary. They launch a very malicious campaign against the high judiciary or the members of high judiciary. Today we have, witnessed another case that Supreme Court of Pakistan has given a bail to the former chairman PTI and the former foreign minister Shahmud Qureshi in Cypher case, and given some sort of statements, given some sort of observations in favor of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. But at the same time, when Election Commission of Pakistan has given this verdict, the PTI across the social media, I've been observing that they have launched a massive campaign against the Election Commission. But I think rules are made to follow, to implement. If Election Commission of Pakistan has framed some rules, and those rules were framed by the parliament of the country, so every sort of political party, every institution has to follow those rules. Only then we can proceed in a positive directions, because rule of law is a fundamental condition for a sustainable and a lasting democracy in a country.
Right, absolutely. Rashid Saab, I also want your perspective, and especially with regards to how exactly this decision has come forward, given the fact that the intra-party polls are being cited as unconstitutional in light of PTI's own constitution, and of course the Elections Act as well. And so when we take a look at what really has happened and how the intra-party polls are being viewed upon, I want to understand how significant the intra-party polls are in the first place in terms of not allowing a certain political party their own symbol in the elections, and what exactly was unconstitutional about the PTI's intra-party polls that were held that started this conversation in the first place.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. Intra-party polls are a requirement by the Elections Act 2017, and the requirement is quite clear. That polls are held on the basis of the constitution of the party, not on the basis of any other injunctions given in Elections Act or any other legislative pieces. So these elections have to be held on the frequency and on the methodology that the constitution of one party actually explains. So, and parties, many parties have not conducted these elections. So, as far as I know, there are many other parties who have lost their symbols, but this case was peculiar, and it is peculiar. But as an election observer group, we cannot comment on that at this time, because we haven't seen the detailed judgment as to what grounds the Election Commission of Pakistan have accepted for the refusal of the electoral symbol to PTI. But yes, this decision will have effect on the electoral developments. But technically speaking, the electoral process will continue despite this decision.
All right. Faisal, the given situation, particularly when we take a look at the PTI, is important, especially in terms of perceptions. And you have reiterated on this program many times that they have a huge voter base still, and that you think that a large number of the population is still supporting the PTI. And so when we take a look at what is happening, it seems that those who follow the party will be also following their stance on the fact that they are being attacked and that this is something that is happening unfairly to them. chairman. So I want to understand then how will the credibility of institutions such as the ECP or the law will be established when we have the PTI's narrative gaining strength in terms of what the people actually believe in. And so do you think that the general population still thinks, the ones that you say are following the PTI still think that this is something that is unfair, and that this is how it's going to also impact the elections? Then do you think that that actually benefits the PTI in one way?
Yes, Anna, if we obviously talk about the followers of any political party, when they see something of this nature going on against their political party, especially talking about their symbol of the party, as it has been obviously maintained and propagated before as well, and wherever we see the symbol of the party, obviously it keeps on appearing. And in that context, if we see that the talks about removing or withdrawing the bat as a symbol of the party, it will create a huge impact.
Do you think it's a harsh measure?
In accordance to law, of course, whatever ECP has done. I mean, I did not go through the detailed verdict of ECP. Once I go through it, of course, I'll be able to know what are the reasons, what are the bases on which they have actually denounced them regarding the bat. But if there are some reasons, obviously they will be in accordance to the constitution which is being followed by ECP at this hour. But saying this, at the same time, I would say, for any political party, when you withdraw their electoral symbol from them, then of course it's a huge impact on them, because then with the new symbol they would have to campaign from zero once again, and then they will be obviously campaigning for their party and for the symbol of the party from as a fresh starter. So to me, I think the political followers of PTI, they will be hit by this, and at the same time the constituents and the people who are actually on different constituencies, they are fighting these elections for PTI. Of course, it would be a huge setback for them, but at the same time, I would say that PTI as a party, of course, very recently, when they were asked to contest an intra-party election, that intra-party election, obviously it was in a hurry they had to do it, because I still remember when they were asked to do it, then it was only 20 days they were given for this election. And in this election, of course, they did whatever they could, but at the same time, I think there must be certain rules and regulations they forgot to follow, which are right now having the question marks against them, and that is why we are seeing that the ECP has come up with this verdict. Like I said earlier, the detailed verdict would be perfect to answer all of the questions which can be raised at this moment. But at the same time, the PTI, while we are seeing them that they are protesting against it, at the same time, the legal people who are attached with the PTI, they are maintaining that of course they will be going to the Supreme Court or any given forum to obviously contest it, and of course they will appeal against it. And to me, I believe one by one, as they are getting relief in other cases, who knows, they might be able to get relief in this context as well, in the larger interest of the people of Pakistan. Why I say this? Because if only because of this reason that bat was snatched out of their hands, if only because of these reasons, if this election gets the question marks, then of course it would be a question mark on the transparency of the whole system, the electoral system. So I am pretty much sure somewhere down the line, the system itself, the state itself, and ECP itself would not give a single argument to any of the party to be judged on the basis that whether this election was free and fair or not. So to me, I think in coming future, it's a good lesson for PTI that they would have done it perfectly, but if they didn't do it, they got this result. In future, of course, they will be told that this is what that was wrong in there, and then of course if you can fix yourself, and then of course your appeal is accepted.
Especially in terms of elections, is a bit far off, especially in terms of what the PTI is going through right now and how much strength will it be able to retain in these elections and then moving forward as well. And so I want to understand, Farrukh, how big of a blow is this to the PTI, both in terms of how generally the removal or withdrawal of an electoral symbol is to a party, and also specifically to PTI, as it was a representation that was attached to its leader, the former chairman, and a lot of ways in terms of how centric the party was to him and his identity.
Right, Sana, thank you very much for the question. Before I actually answer your question, I have to actually spell out a caveat at the very start, and that is the problem with this ball by ball commentary is that things keep on changing, and there are so many moving parts that once you have actually commented. Remember, there was another case, cipher case, where Supreme Court actually provided relief to PTI in the morning, right, during the day. And all of a sudden, your entire media was actually dominated by the cries of possibility of reconciliation between establishment and PTI. And then this happens, right? So things keep on changing. So I just wanted to point out that nothing has actually, nothing is cut and dry right now. What we are seeing today, what we are commenting on, can change tomorrow, right? Having said that, it is very interesting. This verdict regarding, bad symbol, and something very interesting happened because I was on my way here when this actually news broke. So I was trying to cheat on job right now. I was trying to look up the updates on my phone when the producer asks you to for me to actually put down the phone. The point is, had there been another political party, it would have been a devastating blow. But to PTI, which has a very effective, information and media strategy, this isn't that big a blow, because on one side you have the courts, of course, as was pointed out by Faisal, they can go to courts, they can even go back to election commission. And mind you that this idea that others are not being nabbed for this kind of offense, but we are, is not a good excuse. I think that other political parties should be put through the same kind of standards, but that actually doesn't let you off the hook just because others are not being apprehended. This is a basic concept, right?
Right, absolutely. And I'll come back to you with the rest of the question, but we're just going to also include in the discussion Mr. Govind Dashad, who's the former Secretary Election Commissioner, who's joined us on telephone line. So we're just going to be also questioning him with regards to these developments. Thank you for joining us in the debate. And I'd really like your perspective in terms of what is being cited as unfair by the PTI in terms of the ECP's decision of removal of the bat symbol in light of what they're saying are unconstitutional intra-party polls. Can you help us clarify, because this hasn't happened before, and so we want to understand what is it that went so wrong this time around?
As per the decision of the Election Commission of Pakistan, the intra-party election of the PTI were not held as per Section 207, 208 and 209. So that Election Commission of Pakistan had decided to withdraw the symbol which had been allotted to the PTI as per the decision of the Election Commission of Pakistan. The intra-party election were also not held as per the constitution of the PTI. So the Election Commission of Pakistan has decided to withdraw the symbol of the PTI immediately. So after the decision of the Election Commission of Pakistan, this PTI registration has been invalid. So that registration of the PTI has been withdrawn. And in the future, they can challenge the decision of the Election Commission of Pakistan in the concerned High Court, and it is the prerogative of the PTI to challenge the decision of this Election Commission of Pakistan in any courts: Islamabad High Court, Sindh High Court, Lahore High Court, Peshawar High Court. There are openly they can challenge the decision of the election in Pakistan.
All right, and I'll come to that with regards to what they can do. But can you also please give your response in terms of the PTI's claim that they're being targeted? What is your response on that?
They contest the election as independent, and the symbol of this party has been withdrawn by the Election Commission of Pakistan, and they contest the election as the independent candidate. And there is no bar to contest the election but as independent. And the party registration has been cancelled.
Khokhar sahab, but the question right now that was asked earlier is regarding PTI's claim that it is being singled out by the Election Commission, that other political parties are not being subjected to the same kind of standards. How would you respond to that?
Yes, you are right. But in our opinion, it is my information that the Election Commission of Pakistan has issued many warnings to the PTI that their intra-party elections are not being held as per described in the Rule 158. So, and as per your constitution of the PTI, so the Election Commission of Pakistan, after hearing the complaint which have been challenged by their members of the PTI, and the Election Commission of Pakistan have decided that the symbol which are being given to the PTI, it is not up to this mark as described in the section 207, 208, 209. So that as per section 215, the Election Commission of Pakistan decided to withdraw the symbol of the PTI immediately.
Right. Khokhar Sahab, can you also help us understand in terms of what you said are the possible options now in terms of appeals by the PTI? I understand that's there, but there's also the deadline of the nomination papers, which just about 2 days from now. And so in this timeline, and it's also the weekend, what sort of options are available to the PTI with regards to moving the courts? And how soon will they be able to even address the situation given this very short deadline?
Yes, they are open that they can challenge the decision of the Election Commission of Pakistan to the High Court. And it is also informed, it is my information that they have decided to challenge the decision of the Election Commission of Pakistan to the High Court. And I also heard the statement of Mr. Khokhar, the chairman of the PTI, they are going to the High Court to challenge the decision of the Election Commission of Pakistan.
Right. And Khokhar Sahab, I also want to know that there was, of course, statements coming in from the PTI that they have a plan B and they have a strategy that they're going to move forward with. And of course, there is the appeal, but there's also the power of social media and what the PTI has historically been very good at using. And so I may have lost you, but this was an important question, but I'll come back to that later in terms of what the PTI can do, especially with regards to using social media. But Farrukh, before that, my earlier question with regards to how big of a blow this is in terms of the PTI in particular and for a party in general.
Right, Sana, and there, as I was pointing out earlier as well, there are many possible recourses, right? One was spelled out by Maqbool Dilshad Sahab himself, that there is always the courts, and they can of course go to the courts. The second thing, because this party was expecting that there can be a ban on the party, right? So they have actually come up with a couple of options or strategies to offset any losses of that sort. Having said that, let me also remind you that in the past also, when political parties or political actors were contesting as independents like Chaudry, even then there was this synergy of symbols, Jeep symbol that were allotted, and they actually managed to do it. But this time, today I heard Sheikh Rashid, for that matter, offering PTI to contest all elections with the symbol of that party, that is Inkpot, right? And then of course there is the very effective method of PTI's communication strategy that actually promises that they can actually tell their voters whom to vote for, and that can also be conveyed. What I actually was saying earlier is that we are still not sure whether it is something that is cut and dry. It can be challenged in the courts. There might be relief, there might not be. The biggest problem with the whole challenging this whole thing is that if you challenge it, when the courts actually look at the picture, they look at what laws have you broken or what laws you have not followed. It cannot be in comparison to other political parties. So don't actually assure yourself that you're going to actually have solution one way or the other. Regarding what happened earlier today, and that is the Cypher case, once again, our media was in a tizzy, particularly trying to project their own feelings and thoughts onto the verdict. Yesterday, I was thinking of shaming PTI that they keep on talking about Khan Sahab, but they hardly ever talk about Shah Mahmood Qureshi, my friend, old friend of mine. So I wanted to do it, but somehow the system is so simpatico that the state, without even saying this, the state of Pakistan or the Supreme Court of Pakistan has allowed him the bail. So what we have to actually wait and see is how this thing is going to unfold. Right now, at this moment, there are too many moving parts. You cannot be sure of any final settlement in this issue.
Right. Mr. Abid, I also want your opinion with regards to how the PTI is going to proceed forward, particularly in terms of the use of social media. And of course, there is the way forward in terms of contesting elections as independents, but also, of course, using the power of social media to identify themselves as PTI members. And so I want to understand what do you think will be the way forward in terms of the impact that this will have in case we don't have the appeals panning out in favor of the PTI and the deadline expires for the submission of nomination papers. Do you think that the PTI still has a good chance as contesting elections as independents? Mr. Abid, are you with us?
I think there's
All right, I think we've lost him, but we're going to try and get in touch with him once again. But Rashid Saab, why don't you also help us understand how exactly will this then evolve in this new age where PTI seems to be moving forward with using innovative ways to campaign for elections?
Yeah, I think the party must have anticipated that decision can go either way, and they must have their own strategy. So the time will tell how they strategize to remain in the contest. But on the technical side, we have 2 days left for the nomination paper submission, and then there will come scrutiny, and these 2 days are crucial. If any relief or any litigation in which PTI will go in High Court or Supreme Court, as Dilshad Shah Sahab was mentioning, if that decision, if that relief, if any, would involve some relaxation in time of election schedule, then I think there will be fair chances of the party to continue contesting elections with its current strategy in pace. But alternatively, they might have their own strategy as to how they will field their candidates, or they will use another party's platform or independent candidates or whatever. But this time will tell that how they proceed with this.
Yeah, Rashid Saab, I have a confusion. You can adjust me well in that context. It is related to that. Isn't this the time of for just all of the contestants to just simply go and give their nomination papers, submit them, and then later on it would be the phase of getting the symbols, and at that time maybe I think it is still we have for like 10 days, still we have 10 days of scrutiny, and during scrutinization of the process, of course we can say that still we have like almost 10 days for PTI to go to the courts and clear themselves so that they can award their symbol to any of the contestants.
Technically speaking, symbols will be allocated after 7 days of scrutiny, and then 4 days for the 4 days for the challenging the acceptance or rejection of the nomination papers, and then 7 days of for the decisions on the appeals by the candidates, followed by 1 day for the withdrawing the nomination by candidates. And then will come the stage in which candidates will have to furnish the party certificates for the allocation of symbols.
3 weeks?
Yeah, they have, yes, candidates have this time, but candidates also feel a kind of undertaking while they are submitting nominations that they belong to this party. And if they mention a party in that undertaking, they cannot change that party afterwards. But if they leave that field blank or do not mention any party, then they have a chance to get that symbol.
Right, and that brings me to another question, but I'll come to that later. But before that, I also want a clarification in terms of the usage of the image of the bat in election campaigns. So I understand that perhaps the electoral symbol in itself might be taken away, but what about what rules exist or regulations exist in terms of using the image of the bat in the campaigns, on social media, in rallies, and talking about that as, of course, a part of the PTI's identity, even if that is not the electoral symbol?
And let me add to this question regarding bat symbol. If the current verdict stands, do you think that there is a possibility of another political party getting this symbol?
I don't think so. Parliamentarians?
Yeah, but I think there's not much time for this symbol going to another party. Yeah. And also, there's no rule as to what symbol or what image a party can use in their campaign. Parties can use, but the symbol is for the ballot paper in which a voter has to has to stamp his or her preference in favor of a party. So symbols use is on ballot paper for technically speaking, but for campaign, any image, any kind of symbol, any party can use.
All right, but great.
Rashid Saab, is it highly possible that rather than cricket bat, there might be a baseball bat or something?
No, for that, a party has to be enlisted, and then that party has to pick and choose the baseball bat. Because PTI has been denied an election symbol as far as I have read the news coverage of this decision. So PTI is denied any symbol, so PTI cannot be allotted another symbol. For that, PTI has to rectify on which grounds this decision has been made.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Abid, I also want your perspective given the fact that we do have the time of the scrutiny of nomination papers as well as was being outlined earlier in the discussion with Rashid Saab. And so I want to understand at some point during this time the candidates that are contesting elections have to mention the party that they're going for choosing. And so I want to know that even though there might be options that exist for the PTI to proceed forward, does this have an impact on the people or the candidates who will opt for the PTI in contesting elections? Will this cause people to contest with a different party or leave the party? Even if they have to come forward as independents, they might say that their chances of winning are less now that this issue exists for the PTI to deal with. Do you think that the party will eventually face a loss of candidates?
Yes, as you said in your question, that PTI has an option, rather the proceedings in the High Court, and as I have heard the PTI chairman, who was deposed today, Barrister Gore, who was saying that PTI would go into High Court first and most probably then Supreme Court of Pakistan. And let's see what happens. But if they are not allowed to contest elections on the bat, it would be definitely so much difficult for them, because in one constituency there might be more than one candidates who were claiming to be the PTI candidates as an independent. They're contesting elections as an independent candidate, but they're claiming to be PTIs. So for the voters, it would be very much complicated, very much complex and difficult to cast vote in the favor of the right candidate of PTI. So the problems would be there. But let's see for the first, and as Gohar said, the Barrister Gohar said that there are some, plan B and plan C for PTI if the decision remains, the same in the higher courts. So let's see what happens. But definitely, without the bat, the symbol of PTI, there would be so much problems for the voters, and there would be so much complexities and complications for the voters to cast vote in the favor of their candidates.
Right. Dr. Abid, of course, the PTI is facing its own challenges, but of course other political parties are dealing with their own. And I want your insight into what you think are the hindrances or issues that are being faced by parties such as the PBP and the PMLN. What seems to be the major issues at the front? We've also been hearing, of course, reports of internal rift between the PMLN, especially in terms of the voter base in different constituencies. And then, of course, with the way that the PPP has been struggling with what they call favorites in this electoral setup. And so I want to understand at this moment, there are, of course, problems that different political parties are facing on their own. What exactly is it that other parties are looking at? And then in comparison with them, do you think that the PTI is struggling more?
I think if we go back into the history of Pakistan, our electoral history and our democratic history is not very much, ideal. A lot of political parties have been facing such troubles in past, as earlier Pitafi have said, and the other people has also mentioned that People's Party, once they were not given their the traditional symbol of sword, and they contested elections under the symbol of arrow, and then in 1985 the non-party based elections were held, but People's Party contested that elections on Awam Dost platform at that time, and they secured some seats. And similarly, PMLN was also having such problems when Nawaz Sharif was removed as the president of party, and then Benazir Bhutto was removed by the Election Commission during General Musharraf era. And still, even today, the Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, the head of Pakistan People's Party, is also, accusing that his party has not been given the level playing field. And similar, and he has not talked this about only People's Party, but he has also, on some occasions, named that PTI should also be given the same, level playing field. And I think this result having weight, but without having the free, fair, transparent, and seem to be free, fair, and transparent elections, there won't be any sort of, a good gesture of democracy without giving level playing field to the all political parties. But what PTI has done in recent past, if we keep in consideration the 9th May incident, and then they have directly, chose to fight against the establishment and against the various quarters of establishment, and they cross the lines which are very much thin in Pakistan. The political ground for political parties is not that much ideal in Pakistan, but they have also chosen. They actually wanted to bring a revolution in the country with the help of some of the people from within the forces and from within the various quarters, power quarters. So they are facing the music now. The courts are giving them some relief. As we have seen today that in Cypher case, that was a big relief given by the Supreme Court of Pakistan, that the bail was accepted, and some of the remarks by the Superior Judiciary, we have heard that. But still, I would say that some of the hurdles and some of the hindrances from the state we have seen for other political parties as well, but PTI has also directly responsible for creating such kind of, why they did not go for the elections when the stipulated time was there in their hands, they were in power, but they not chose to go for the elections. That was the prerequisite for a political party to hold elections within the party, but they did not do so. Now they did it in a very hasty manner, and the complications were there, and Akbarist Babar and other people raised serious questions, and those questions were accepted by the Election Commission of Pakistan. Let's see what happens in the Superior Judiciary.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Abid Abbasi, for joining us, and thank you very much, Rashid Chaudry for joining us and being a part of the discussion. Faisal, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that obviously, the next steps which are being talked about, that what could be the next step of obviously PTI as a political party. To me, I think they will be going to High Court, and the High Court they will be choosing is Peshawar High Court, because they have been hailing Peshawar High Court in recent times, and probably they will be considering it more easier for them to go there. And in response to whatever the decision comes out from there, I believe then the Supreme Court the doors would be knocked as well in the later phases.
Okay, Farrukh, you were shaking your head. Do you disagree?
No, I just wanted to say that it is not our job to actually predict which court they are going to go to. I think all courts of law are equally important, and it is especially when we are talking about high courts, they are at parallel. So the only thing that one actually hopes to get is justice in any case, right? Yeah. But it seems to me, Sana, that while we are talking about the political situation in the country, half of my life has been spent in actually doing two things. One, trying to tell political parties not to make silly mistakes when they do. And when once they have done it and they are actually caught with their hands in the proverbial cookie jar, then to actually trying to ensure that they don't get the worst, they don't face the worst consequences, worst possible consequences of their actions. This was the case in 2017-18 when I kept on, suggesting to PMLN, don't be that confrontational and don't be that aggressive. They did, and in the end, they got their kind of reaction to it, right? Similarly, PTI also. Right now, the only reason PTI keeps on benefiting from whatever it is whatever terrorist activities used to happen in America before 9/11, there were not proper laws for whatever was happening, right? Here too, what happened on May 9th is actually not only a game changer, but the biggest problem why they keep on getting a relief, especially in Cypher case, is because you don't have the kind of focused laws on what was attempted. And the second thing is also very important, that somewhere other people who might be involved in the whole story, they are being kept aside and they are not being focused at, right? There are certain people with military background, they might also be involved. With that kind of a situation, of course, that is why PTI keeps on getting the kind of relief. Otherwise, had any political party done this, I would have assured you that they wouldn't be able to participate in 4 or 5 elections in the coming years.
All right, that's all we have from the debate. Thank you, Farrukh, and thank you, Faisal, for joining us as always. We're going to be, of course, seeing whatever happens over the weekend and moving forward as well in terms of what the PTI does and, of course, what other political parties are going to be preparing for in light of the upcoming elections. We'll be here to talk about it, just not over the weekend. We'll see you Monday.